And I want to talk about currently what we're seeing out there, and then I want to show you my solution. So let's look at the devastation right now that we are trying to rebuild from. So according to data from the New West End Company, which represents businesses around Bond Street, Oxford Street, and Regent Street, sales from retail, hospitality, and leisure are on the course to bring in just £2 billion this year to March 2021. That's down from £10 billion the previous year. Just think about it. That's missing £8 billion. Imagine what that could have done for Mo. Imagine what that could have done for you. Imagine how many people that could have employed. It's just been absolutely devastated. And in retail, the foot traffic to the premier shopping district is down 59%, with about half of London's West End retail and hospitality sales coming from international tourists. So we're really feeling the squeeze by the fact that people can't get in here. 1/5 of Oxford Street, which is London's main shopping thoroughfare, they believe will be boarded up with no hope of recovery. And now 50,000 retail and hospitality jobs are lost even by the time the latest lockdown ends. That's all according to the New West End Company. We really face some devastation. But it's not just there. It's the office workers. It's not just tourists who need to come back to the city. And city center economies rely on these office workers. And this is something I've been talking about for 6 months. I used to work in the City of London in banking. And again, I speak to people on the streets, I speak to taxi cab drivers, I know people in the hospitality industry, and they remind me that the City of London, the banking industry, it brings in 25% of the entire country's GDP. Those people not being in their offices hurts everything in this city. We've got to find ways to get them back safely to do those of the top banking and consultancy firms that are based here in London. And I would say, what's it going to take to get 25% of your workforce back in the office in a safe manner? What's it going to take? Because it's going to kickstart the economy, and I'm looking to make a deal. How can we make this happen? How can we find a way to motivate you to come back in the city? I don't know if it's a project we need to look at, maybe some type of tax incentive, but let's get these people back to kickstart the economy. Your current mayor of London, I mean, if he got hit in the head, he couldn't come up with that idea. He has no creativity or innovation when it comes to business. And that's why we need a business person at the helm if we really want to get the most out of this recovery. But it's not just offices, it's also theaters. And according to the CEO of the New West End Company, and I quoted this at the beginning, I'm going to quote it again. He said, "The left to market forces alone, the West End will recover, but not for many years. And not before irreparable damages will have been done for Britain's global reputation." And that echoes a comment that was made by Instagram just moments ago. Look what the mayor has done to the reputation of this city. Nobody wants to come back here. Nobody wants to do business here. And the entrepreneurs don't trust the city to back them up with proper communication, proper regulations, and proper promotion. And to restart our city, we've got to prioritize getting our workers back and opening up London to both domestic and international tourists. And I want to finish with some thoughts on Heathrow Airport, because we're going through Hounslow, which is right next to Heathrow Airport. And if we're honest with ourselves and really look at the numbers, our communities around Britain's airports, they're being devastated, absolutely devastated. And Hounslow in West London has the terrible distinction right now of heading the National League tables for the number of furloughed and unemployed workers, happening right here in one of the 32 boroughs of London. And in Hounslow, which is right next to Heathrow, and even in Crawley near Gatwick, 40% of the workforce were being supported by the state. Just think about that. 40% of the workforce being paid for by the government. That's not sustainable at all. Now, across the country, 733,000 jobs in and connected to Britain's international and regional airports are now at risk from a prolonged downturn in the air traffic. And John Holland Kay, the CEO of Heathrow Airport, cited the expectation that the UK is, quote, on the cusp of becoming the first country in the world to safely resume international and trade at scale. And I like this point that John makes, because John implies that unless the leadership is in place, we are going to miss an incredible opportunity now to make London the center of the world. I believe we can take all the market share from Paris, Madrid, Frankfurt, all of the major countries and cities in Europe and take it for ourselves. And I want to say I appreciate all of our friends in Europe, but you know what? This is business. And I think if we open up, if we're proactive on business, if we find safe ways to get people back to work and back into theaters and back into retail, if we find innovative solutions, we can make 2021 perhaps even the best year on record for London. But we've got to have a mayor who is a business person. We've got to have a mayor who looks at London through a business, through the lens of business is what I'm trying to say. And I think Heathrow Airport is one of those hidden gems where if we get that channeled, it can power a lot of the London economy. It brings in those international and even national tourists, gets them to spend in London, and we can get our city back.